Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with the second and final video for today before we then go into Friday Night Tights over on Nerdrotic's channel. Please join us for that at 10:30 UK time. I say that because obviously we're on Gary's time as well. So this comes from Bounding into Comics again. And I found this exceedingly interesting because, of course, the dealings which I've had with the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, and their diversity and inclusion policy, which is essentially bigoted and unfair, and we'll go into it all. And they run with the title of, and it's John F. Trent who writes, Amazon Studios, the studio behind Lord of the Rings and Wheel of Time, announces new inclusion policy. You repeat yourself there, John. No reason to whatsoever. Just start the article here. In a press release announcing the new inclusion policy, Amazon detailed that its policy extends its commitment to diversity, inclusion, and equity for its content and productions. Now, the reason why I hover on the word equity is please do not confuse this with equality. Okay? So if you are slightly confused by the two terms, let's put it in very simple terminology for you. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. So that means everyone is on an equal footing. Equity, however, recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. So essentially, equity says that some people are not getting the opportunities that they should have or deserve, etc. And so they overcompensate. Now, I'm of the belief of equality. I think people should be on the same footing as each other. Equity, no, that buys into CRT nonsense. Utter nonsense. Along with their inclusion policy, they also rolled out a new playbook to strengthen ongoing commitments to diverse and equitable representation. Not, again, equality or equal, equitable. According to Amazon, the policy and playbook will offer detailed and actionable recommendations as Amazon Studios continues to seek out stories and storytelling that amplify voices across race, ethnicity, nationality, sexual orientation, age, religion, this is a quote, disability, including mental health, body size, gender, gender identity, and gender expression. Christian channel, no swearing. Oh my. For the global Prime Video audience. Chihuahua. Amazon Studios Executive Head of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Latasha Gillespie, explained the purpose of the new policy and playbook. Amazon Studios has long prioritized telling innovative and inclusive stories from a diverse range of creative talent, delighting our global audiences. Well, okay, whatever you want to play with. We wanted to move beyond good intentions to creating mechanisms that hold us accountable to a high bar. This inclusion policy and inclusion playbook adds important additional depth and guidance for our internal teams and external partners to ensure we continue to advance our shared mission of amplifying the best creatives and content around the world. I've never heard so much poppycock, Christian channel, in all my life right here. Look, I'll just give you a quick example, right? The Loki television show. Some people are lording over it, which is nonsense. Go to Google Trends, see how popular it's going. It's on a massive downward turn. People are checking out of it. But a lot of people are being critical of it, and a lot of people are overcompensating for it. Why? Because the writing is trash. Utter trash in that show. But if you look to who's exactly writing right now, it's people who have no body of work whatsoever. And this week's Loki, the second episode of 6, was 50 minutes of sitting down and talking and being in a library and talking and then going to a cafeteria and talking. Although why you need to eat when where you are is removed from time so you're not aging and you're not getting hungry, I don't know. But it's a woman, so, you know, food. And it's just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It was the most boring 50 minutes of television I've watched in a long, long time. So bringing on this talent, this equity, this inclusivity we've seen in recent times, Bird of Prey, absolute trash. Again, somebody who didn't have experience, didn't have the body of work, didn't have the know-how to deal with large budgets. Absolute mess of a film. We've seen with WandaVision, it started off strong, fell off a cliff. We've seen with Falcon and Winter Soldier, absolute garbage for the most part. Oh, this is working out well for Marvel right now. Whew, I'm sure it'll do so much for you. With the establishment of our inclusion policy and inclusion playbook, Amazon Studios has committed itself to being a thought and action leader in the transformation of our industry. This is just absolute word soup. This is just word soup. We know how much work there is to be done to improve representation both on camera and behind the scenes. I love the way, again, I have to stress this, I love the way that they talk as if it's actually our fault. And when I say our fault, I mean us, the customer, the viewing public. When in actuality, they're the people that have been casting these shows all along. All along. And it starts at home with us, with clear directives and a commitment to accountability. These guides provide a path towards a more equitable future, both on and off camera. Now then, this is rather interesting. They put an image here of Invincible. Now, Invincible did some tweaks and changes to the source material. I thought it was a great show. I did think it was a great show. But what I found to be the weakest elements of the show was Kel Surprise, the forced inclusion and diversity. Now, the color of his girlfriend doesn't come into play at all in the show. She's just a horrible person. An absolutely horrible person. And it feels like there's no reason why he would like her in the slightest. She's selfish. She's self-absorbed. She's only looking after number one. She thinks that he's a lapdog for her. And yet I have the feeling that they think they're portraying a strong woman. And at the end of this series, she just comes running back to him. And he's like, yeah, sure. She was terrible. The gay friend was embarrassing. This character was actually embarrassing. They stuck him in a car for an episode and a half because they had nothing to do with him, apart from him just listening to the radio about what's going on. And then when they actually decided to bring in an alphabet storyline about a guy that he had met the previous summer, they'd made love. The two characters, had zero chemistry, acted as if they've never met each other at all. And it was the most awkward interaction that you've seen, and yet we were meant to believe that these guys were like into each other and in love and had you know, shagged down by the riverside. It felt like they'd never met, that they were both straight, in as much as it was so awkward, like the sort of interaction between them. And it was forced in what was otherwise a really well-written show. Really well-written show. So, just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. It's funny that the words inclusion and diversity are seen as almost absolutes, in as much as they are positive. No, not necessarily. If it doesn't fit the story, if it doesn't work, if it feels forced, it's not good for the story. If you're just trying to ram it in for the sake of ramming it in, it will feel, in my opinion, how it felt in Invincible, forced and unnatural and awkward. So when you go along with these types of policies, it's not necessarily for the better. Also, it's hypocritical. Okay? Because Bounding Into Comics talk about The Boys, where of course Stormfront was sex changed. It's a male in the comics. It was a female in the TV show. They say here, casting actors whose identity, gender identity, nationality, race/ethnicity, sexual orientation, and disability aligns with the characters they will be playing. Well, you're not going to turn Stormfront back to a white male because you put them as a white female. You race changed them. You're not going to, what you're going to do is you're going to still take white characters, and we know this, and you're still going to play and change them. But if it comes to a character from a different race, ethnicity, sexuality, you're not going to touch them at all. Then you will enact this policy. But if it's a white male character, you'll race change them, you'll sex change them, you'll sexual orientation change them, and we know that. Because this is a farce. Inclusion and diversity is current day's biggest grift. And people are getting hired and they're making bank off this sort of business. And do you really believe, they really believe in it? Of course they don't. This is the current day grift. It really is. It goes on. And it just carries on the way that you would expect it. Look, I'll just read a little bit more. To include one character from each of the following categories in speaking roles, with minimum 50% of these to be women, LGBT alphabet, person with a disability, and 3 regionally unrepresented race, ethnic, cultural groups. A single character can fulfill one or more of these identities. Are you having fun yet? Never compromise your story. If this is your front foot forward, then your story's already compromised. Because it's then no longer about the story, no longer about the entertainment for the audience. It's just pure, unadulterated box ticking. To placate who exactly? Weirdos on Twitter? Keep the grift alive. Keep the grift alive, folks. It's gonna work out for you. Because the more that you do it, the more you're gonna alienate a huge portion of your actual watching audience. But don't worry. I'm sure your echo chamber will be giving you plenty of pats on the back as your shows fail and lose money, probably the vast majority of the time. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do get a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.